Okay, what's up, you guys? So, today we're going to talk about loyalty, one of my favorite things, right? And the thing is, because of that, it's painful when people break that loyalty with you, right? And it's even more painful when you break it with yourself. And so, today, the only chance I'm going to get to film today is while I'm driving. So, once again, I'm looking at the road, even when I do this. Okay, good talk. So, loyalty. This is something that is one of those double-edged swords, but for me, it's one of my core values. And when I am not loyal to myself, I start to feel heavy and that icky feeling I've talked about. And it's something that, when you lose loyalty with yourself, whether it's because you have made exceptions for doing things that maybe you wouldn't normally do, or maybe it's that you're becoming a different person because suddenly you're flipping that switch of no longer being able to hold your cool, I've always had, a tendency to really resent people and that resentment becomes toxic. And so what I've learned in this is that, when people and situations I feel have not been loyal to me, you really have to check yourself there, because a lot of times we have a tendency to go, how could you side with that person instead of me? I've known you longer, we're family or best friends or whatever that is. But that trust is the thing that locks that loyalty in for me. And when that is broken, for me, that's like, it's crippling. And for the longest time, even as a child, I was always the one that stood up against the bullies. I was the one, that would stand up against people. And I want to tell you a little story so my best friend from the age of 5, she was born blind, and she has been given so many other gifts, because her eyes, she may not use the way we use our eyes, but we were best friends and still are, and I'm so grateful for her friendship. But, I was thinking about loyalty the other day, and there was this one instance where this kid that we went to school with, and I'm not going to name any names, but he saw us with a bunch of people one day. We were downtown where we lived as kids, and we always liked to go to the store and get, junk food like ice cream and cookie dough, and at this time she had a candy bar, and if I remember this correctly, because she couldn't see, he came up behind her and took the candy bar right as we were leaving the store and ran off with it. And it really upset me. And I used to stand up for any underdog or anybody that was being bullied, and I was very upset at this. And I called him out on it. Now, what's interesting about this is we were all very young. We were still, I think, I don't know. I really don't know. I think we were all in middle school, right? So at that age, especially, you're still learning. And for me, it was like, well, how could you ever do that to somebody? And this person wasn't necessarily a mean person, but, all these kids ran off and thought that this was funny. And at some point, and I don't remember how long it took him, I don't remember if it was months or years or what, but eventually he came back and he made a full apology for his behavior. And he was still young, okay? So it wasn't like any adult saw what happened. So it's not like somebody said, hey, you need to go apologize. He decided on his own to make an apology and make it right. And if I remember correctly, he might have even brought back a candy bar, okay? And I love this because you should never be reminded that you need to be loyal like that to yourself, right? Be loyal to yourself to make the right decision in making things right. And sometimes you need a reminder, but this story in particular is one of those moments where I just really appreciated this. And by the way, this guy grew up to be a really kind person, and we're all still friends still to this day. But, it's really important that you get back on your value system. And if you don't think that loyalty and trust is important, I certainly cannot involve my personal life with people like that. And I don't believe that many people think that, life itself should lack trust and loyalty. But just be mindful about this. And if you have done someone wrong, the longer you let that go, the longer that trust and that loyalty is gonna like continue to dissolve. And it's gonna be harder to rebuild that with people because, you know, and again, people can make up their own versions of stories in their head. And, you know, this is one of the reasons why I started to cut back on alcohol, and I cut back on anything that was getting in the way of me remembering things or seeing things and how they actually went down. We all have our own perspectives, but for me, there are certain things that are just obvious. And taking accountability and being loyal and honest is something that's important to me. And so if that's important to you, I get it. And just remember that being in with yourself, and none of us are perfect, okay? We've all made mistakes, and it's something that, you know, you just have to kind of sort through. No one's perfect. And, you know, a lot of the things that I've been through personally, from my perspective, are recently quite hurtful, and they don't really make a lot of sense to me, especially when I add up the facts. And usually this means somebody's being disloyal. Somebody is disrespecting the trust that you have because maybe they're believing the lies of other people. Maybe they are forgetting to go within and decide what they value, or maybe they just don't want to be in your life anymore. And these are all things that you just have to be loyal to yourself and understand. If something doesn't feel right or something doesn't seem right, you don't have the full story. And the thing that I've had to be okay with is realizing maybe I don't want the full story. As much as I value trust and loyalty, if my intuition is telling me that something's off and it's not for me, I need to listen to that. And for so many years, I fought against it. And I'm not fighting against it anymore. I'm listening to it. And that might mean that you don't have as close of relationships with people that you once did, maybe since you were born. It's one of the most painful things, but you can't control others. And so if other people are breaking that trust and your loyalty, and they've made up some version of something in their head, and they're believing their own version of something that doesn't align with your values and your truth, sometimes it's just best to go separate ways. And I, again, like I said in yesterday's video, I've never been good at goodbyes. It's always just been so painful for me. And this is just a reminder, you don't have to say goodbye. You can just let things be and just see what happens. Now, it's really important that you don't own up to things that you really did not do. And I have had a tendency to do this because I just like to make things right, repair the loyalty, repair the trust as soon as I can. And when you do things like that, it's very dangerous because you start to take accountability for things that you shouldn't. And I have found myself in situations where suddenly I'm taking accountability and I'm making apologies over and over again, and these patterns keep repeating. And you know, nobody is innocent completely in anything in life, right? But you really have to sit back, and I had to go through this and go, wait a minute, why am I apologizing for being a human being? And why am I apologizing for something that is beyond what I did? Why am I apologizing for things that somebody else made up and told a lie about, or something like that? You know, it's just very toxic. And again, these are lessons to be grateful for. And I don't really like using the word toxic, but it is, you know, it is a real thing. But if you just be grateful for this, it's better to go through life, take accountability for your actions, and grow and continue to grow. And there's, you know, everybody has a past. And guess what? Own it. Be loyal to yourself and to others if that's important to you. And move about your day and your life just based on your values, okay? Your core values. So I hope that helps you today. And if you're feeling alone, or you're feeling like, you know, you've been betrayed, and of course there's a lot that ties up with loyalty, and I'm not going to get into it today, but betrayal is very painful, and you're not alone, okay? Everything's going to work out. Just remember that you base all of your actions on your value system, and stay strong, all right? We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great day.